Okay, so I did hi, everyone who doesn't know me, I'm Diamante Brown, like born in New York. Um, I did a bunch of downloading. I'm not talking about like downloading like crystals and blah 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 whatever. My face is probably lopsided to some degree. Is it this side? Yes. Yeah. So I just did like a ton of downloading, and my face looks like um, and my face looks like I don't even know what. But long story short is, anyway, what I'm talking about is my face has changed since I've started like doing this, and you can check other videos, and like my face is like changing drastically. So I'm gonna try to just put my hands here to like create some kind of like, I don't even know what. I'm gonna focus on that later. I was in the gifted and talented program. This was when I was younger. This was elementary school. I'm seeing all of this stuff. This is from like February and January and blah 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 about the gifted and talented program and like everyone's thoughts on it. Has anyone asked students that were in the gifted and talented program like how it was and like what the experience was and what they think like about it and like what should be like implemented moving forward from the gifted and talented program? Here's what I'll tell you as a non-worker, as a non-teacher that's also a worker, as a person involved in like politics officially, when it comes to like the gifted and talented program, is that it's about focus, it's about participation, and it's about attendance. You know what I'm saying? Like when you have a school and you're running a school and that school is in a public system, and that school is in a public system, meaning that not like, oh yeah, everybody can see what everybody's doing, but it has metrics of funding in comparison to other schools that are running along the same grade levels as it. You're gonna find ways to track ways. You're gonna find ways to track performance. You're going to find ways to need to analyze the data in order to know how to do other things better. And then even at like, let's say, and that's at like an administrator level, but as a school level, if you're looking at like, let's say the gifted and talented classes, versus like, let's say how in my school they called it the top classes, and like whatever else, because I wasn't really paying attention to that. I just kind of showed up for school and did what I had to do. But when you look at like, let's say the top classes, aside from the gifted and talented classes, how did they perform? Like as an educator, you know what I'm saying? Like telling a kid that they're gifted and talented and they're in a group of gifted and talented kids, from not just like picking them like, oh, you and you and you and you, but from taking a test, versus the ones who took the test and scored differently. Not that they failed, but they just scored differently, which is facts. You see how children perform differently. Everybody might get the same grades, everybody might get the same work, but recognition does a lot, in a kid's life, as well as having the opportunity to be recognized and then not being up to par. That also, has like an effect on a child's life. And it's not about being gifted and talented or being in the program, or even just like, as parents would call it, bragging rights, really, because you know how parents are. It's more just about like understanding that in any educational institution there are metrics that are being analyzed for the point of like reform, which is about positive change moving forward. So, in the gifted and talented program. Although I was in the gifted and talented program, like for me personally, I was more so over participant, and I always over participated. I'd always have my hand in the air, and I guess really didn't care, like that I always had some kind of input, even though like probably like 15% of the time like I was wrong. Like that was that. Like I did my work, things like that. I had like my little friend group. I was just the talker, and they're just like sitting there, really. But it was just the fact that like not everyone is a talker, and I was always so excited to go to school, especially since like school was like 2 blocks away. So it's just like home is right there, and like oh my god, mind you, like other kids would be like tired and then commute and blah blah blah. So it's like for me, like gifted and talented program, like major foundation in my life. Another thing about the gifted and talented program, as I spoke about, focus, participation, and attendance, is that it provided for a strong foundation in literacy, like computation, and most definitely like comprehension. Like from like the extracurricular activities to like the books in the library, and like meeting the librarian, and like the teachers, and like like developing like that good relation, blah 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 blah. Really really good. And fast forward to like now, like like life is like totally different, not being like under the wing of like my mom, basically, because it was like an extended family, like kind of environment. And life is totally different. I graduated high school, scored really, really well on the Regents, ended up in foster care, anonymous reporter of neglect, group home. Like it wasn't even like something like that happened when I was really, really young. But it was something that happened just like I was 17, and then all of a sudden I'm in a group home, and it's just like I didn't question the court or like their motives or whatever. They said that my mom was neglecting me, and I'm just like, that's what you say, Fast forward later, my mom asked me to like sign myself out of care, and I'm just like, okay, cool, like if that's what you want. Like I love my mom, what I'm saying, like me and my mom have always been like right there. But long story short is, like they had returned for services, because of like the whole toxic situation, and like the situation is still toxic, and then like working within like the bureaucracy of like the city government and like Section 8 and everything like that is just like mind-boggling, basically. I've in like the space of time between like neglect case and group home, and then ended up going to college for this great program, in partnership with the New York Foundling and like college dorm project, CUNY, blah blah blah, like then even now, and then like homelessness and being at risk, and being undereducated, and then not knowing like where to go, and then like being in a shelter where there's like ex-cons and people like criminal records, which I guess doesn't make them bad people, but they just went down a different path of life, so they have like different like sets of like mannerisms and like modes of etiquette and like understandings and like levels of comprehension, especially to the point where it's like from then until now, like I've gotten hit in my head, I've gotten beat up, I've gotten physical altercations, dangerous situations, almost got stabbed, like that's endocrine system through the roof, that's fight or flight, what I'm saying, that's low levels of dopamine, what I'm saying, like that is, like constantly like being in a situation where I'm just like I don't want to be a sitting duck, so it's like I'm here and then I'm there, and then with COVID and everything like that, what I'm saying, there's not really many inside places to go, and then like over the years not really having like strong like friend relationships, because that's not something that I learned in school, and then also preferring not to be the type of person that like quote unquote like praises the Lord when they're in a time of need, aka like go to the friends that I used to know very closely, like when I was younger, or like the people that I barely know, and like throw all of my problems and everything like that onto them, when they might be what they might be going through their own stuff, or whatever's the case with their own people, and that kind of quantified, like problematic like environment might just like make everything worse. Trying to survive this crazy chaotic situation, and handle things civilly. The Gifted and Talented program, I believe, was or is like to this day like a really good foundation, an unwavering foundation for me for like literacy, like problem solving, like context clues, and kind of just understanding, that where there is not even justice, but where there is things like, like lighting and plumbing, and like employment, and like other factors of like a modern economy, what I'm saying, there's also solutions. There's also like a way in which like things can become solvable. So working towards that, like especially like right now, like I'm here at the door. This is kind of like a partnership of what it seems, the door as an organization kind of like working with me to get me to where I need to be, which is not really what they commonly do with, like a lot of their clients, because a lot of their clients have different needs. But having like the foundation of, the Gifted and Talented program, and like that, the fostering of comprehension, especially of computation, of critical thinking, of context clues, and also just like, understanding like the difference between what I want for me and like what needs to happen. I guess like it's made things easier, like for me at least, like on this computer, like right now, like downloading everything and kind of like just getting like supportive documents or whatever, because I've been doing essays since like third grade, and then I went to other schools, like I went to St. Saviour's, I went to St. Dominic's for like a semester or two, but like that really wasn't anything. I was like shipped off to Trinidad, and like you could call that child trafficking or whatever, like that's what I would call that now, like looking at the whole experience. But again, kind of making the best of it and having that foundation of the Gifted and Talented program, where it was like everything that was kind of like, brought my way, like especially long division at fourth grade, like I cried, but I ended up like understanding it, especially when my teacher, Ms. Vale, showed me short division, like the short format, and then understanding that I had something to like compare it to. I basically, like I made the best of the situation. I wasn't like forced to be like a cadet or anything like that, but what the mandate was we all had to involve ourselves in some kind of extracurricular activity. So like I wanted to be like in the band in Marine Park and whatever, going to IS 278. Never happened. So I didn't want to seem like whack, in like, in a different country. So I joined the cadets, I was an admin cadet, doing like bookkeeping and stuff like that. And it was really cool. I never learned how to swim. I learned how to march. I learned how to shoot. I did archery. They chose me as one of the people to be flown out to like Greater Manchester, UK. And it was a really cool experience. It was basically like 2 weeks, like, and like socializing and whatever. And it's like to this day, like, like there are those friends, that I know, and I wouldn't want to reach out to them now, in my current situation, because it's just like I don't know you like that, so just kind of working through everything, kind of finding like the way to go. Having a good foundation is important. It's about to be 15 minutes, so I'm gonna do another video, but also comprehension is another thing that I have learned to value over like the course of my life, and the Gifted and Talented program does that. Like your kid doesn't need to be in the Gifted and Talented program to understand that, but for the sake of metrics and analytical data, there is a reason why the Gifted and Talented program is not for everyone. though every teacher and every parent can kind of expand on that.